I'm going to be testing out the Marc Jacobs Remarkable Foundation, and on the back of the box it says it has instant full coverage, all day weightless wear, less is more. And we've all seen those disaster videos on YouTube where people put tons of this on and it just turns into a mask. So a little bit goes a long way. And I've actually tried this once before, but I kind of found that it separated on me and didn't have the greatest wear. So I'm just shaking it up to make sure it's ready to go here. And then I'm going to start with a primer this time, since I didn't use a primer last time. And this is the YSL Touche Eclat Blur Primer, the one with the gold flecks in it. So I'm just taking a small pump of that and going to put that concentrated on my T-zone where I get oily and have the most separation with my foundation. Now that I have my primer on, I'm going to go in with the Marc Jacobs foundation, and I always use a beauty blender for my foundation, but I think for this it's a really watery consistency and the brush is best based on all the other review videos I've seen on this product. So I'm going to actually use my MAC, kind of artiste style brush, one of these, and I really like this. It's my favorite brush that gives the most flawless finish. So I'm just going to do one dot kind of on all the main areas of my face and start with that, and then if I need more I'll add more, but a little really does go a long way. I mean, look at that, that's super full coverage. So the finish of this foundation is a little difficult to describe. It does have very full coverage and it kind of seems like it's almost powdery, dries almost powdery, but this one layer seems to be enough coverage. My little blemishes I had aren't really showing through. I think I could add a little bit more coverage if I wanted, but this is really super full coverage already. I'm going to go ahead and stick with this one layer of foundation. The coverage is very full and I like the finish that it's giving, so I'm just going to leave it here and go ahead and finish the rest of my face. I went ahead and finished the rest of my face and I really like the finish of this foundation. It really is giving full coverage, especially around the nose area and where I have some blemishes and scarring. And I'm going to take you with me today to see if this really does last 24 hours like it says it will. So stay tuned, and it's going to be like 80 degrees today, so we'll see if this holds up to the heat. It's now 2 p.m. and I applied my makeup at 8 a.m. so it's been about 6 hours. And this foundation was supposed to be very mattifying and last for 24 hours, but I find that I look very oily already, and I've spent most of the day inside in air conditioning. It is like 80 degrees out today, and I just drove in my car for about 20 minutes. But it wasn't super hot, I wasn't sweating, and I got extremely oily. You can see on my chin that it's really separating. Of course I have some movement on my nose where my sunglasses were, but overall I think I look very shiny, and I was expecting this to wear a little better. I think the Smashbox Studio Skin foundation that I tested the other day lasted a lot better and looked a lot better at this point in the day. So I'll update you guys again later, but for now I think that this is kind of looking like an oily mess, and I would normally want to touch up at this point, but I'm not going to touch up so we can really see how this wears. It's now 5 o'clock and I'm in the car, and I was outside in the sun for probably 20 minutes earlier and then back inside in the air conditioning, and my foundation is completely separating and I look like an oily mess, especially around the nose. It's like completely come off and separated around the nostrils, which is always a problem area, but it looks especially bad with this foundation. And again on the chin it's really separating. So I'm really not liking how this is wearing, and I definitely don't think I could keep this on for 24 hours. It's only been a full work day and it's already a greasy mess on my face. So I'll check back in again later when I'm at home and we'll see how it's looking a little later on in the evening. I'm home now and I can't bear to look this greasy any longer. It's been about 10 hours, I think. I did my makeup at 8 a.m. and it's now 6 p.m. and I just look like a greasy mess, and I'm about to go to dinner with some people and I don't want to look like this, so I'm going to touch up and then take this makeup off as soon as I can when I get home. So I'm going to go ahead and touch up, and hopefully I can kind of remedy this separation that's really happened on my chin. and around my nose, and of course for my sunglasses that always happens. I won't fault the foundation for that, but even here it looks like some of my hair brushed across and kind of separated the foundation there. So this is really transferring a lot. It didn't kind of matte down and stay on the skin like I was hoping it would. So I'm gonna go ahead and touch up. So just from spot dabbing the oil off my face, it already looks a lot better and less shiny. But I was also able to go back in with that foundation brush and kind of correct the spots where I had foundation gone from my sunglasses. And then I also kind of tried to blend in the chin separation, and that did help a lot, but now it kind of just looks cakey. I never like to go back in over powder with my liquid foundation brush, but you gotta do what you gotta do when the separation looks this bad, and it actually doesn't look horrible. Some foundations, when you do this, it just, everything falls apart. The liquid tries to eat the powder and it just chunks off and looks awful. So this is actually looking passable. I'm gonna be okay wearing this out in public and feel alright, like I don't look like a disaster. I've gone back over everything and kind of touched up and just touched up the foundation aspect of my makeup, and it's looking okay. I mean, my blush and bronzer held up okay, my eye makeup has held up okay, and my lips I've retouched throughout the day. But now the skin is looking much better. The greasy mess that I was before was just not working for me. If you're gonna be busy throughout the day and you know you get oily and you're not gonna have time to touch up, I don't think this is the best foundation for you if you have oily skin. If you have normal or maybe even drier skin that's not flaky, I think this foundation would be great for you. I'm not sure how it would cling to dry patches because I don't actually have any at the moment, thank goodness, but if I did, I have a feeling it might cling just because the way it sets down, it does feel a little bit powdery in texture, although it doesn't give you a matte powdery finish, obviously, if you're oily. So overall, I think the best part of this foundation is the coverage. As you saw at the beginning of the video when I just dabbed on a little bit and blended it out, it covered basically everything. I mean, all of my redness and everything was instantly camouflaged, so it's super full coverage. I don't think I've ever used a foundation that's this full coverage, but I don't think the wear is there. 24 hours seems a little grand, but I think with touch-ups you could get away with wearing this all day. It looks really good now while touching up. Everything's still covered. When I touched up, I didn't lose any of the coverage, and sometimes when you blot, especially if you're blotting with an oil paper, or I just use my beauty blender, that can kind of grab the makeup and take it away if it's a very, if it's a foundation that's very prone to transferring. So overall, I think this is a little bit of a high price point if you have oily skin. It didn't work out for me as well as I hoped it would, but I do like the color. It did oxidize slightly also, but I think it's still an okay color match. It's now 8:20 p.m., so I've had this foundation on for over 12 hours now today, and overall I don't think it's bad. I think it's just not my favorite for a long-wearing foundation, but I really liked the high coverage of this formula. I've never found like any other foundation that in one thin coat gave so much full coverage. And the coverage really did last okay throughout the day. I think if I had touched up sooner, it would look a lot better. But since I waited so long to kind of test out the true wear, it kind of fell apart here at the end. And it is pretty greasy. I don't like how it's separated around my nose and on my chin area. And this is my second time trying it. This time I had a primer, last time I didn't, and both times it kind of separated in the same way. So I could try it with a couple other primers and see what works, or maybe a different setting powder. But overall, I really liked the high coverage. I really liked the color match for the most part, but I just didn't find that this had a true 24-hour wear. And as you can see, it's now the end of the day. My makeup's smearing everywhere. It's time to take all this off. So I hope you enjoyed this review of the Marc Jacobs Remarkable Foundation, and thank you so much for watching.